This is a really good one as well to think about. Just bear that in mind. This will follow in the ISTQB exam as well. Error, defect, and failure. Try to think in an order of sequence that things happens. Or always starts from a human error. So human error. So associate error with human. So that's a good tip there. Humans, they could mistype something. So it could have a misunderstanding, or could have a lack of planning, or even capability as well. So that's a human error side of it. So the human make a mistake in the code, okay, then develop in the development of a document specification, and then a defect. It's a problem caused by the error. So it's derived from the error. So error first, and from the error you have a defect, okay. And what does that defect cause? It calls a fault, or equals a failure on the system, or a component that can caused by the defect. So error, defect, fault. So that's the sequence. That if you remember that sequence, remember this little story, then you're good to go. You'll be okay with any questions around that. So that failure don't only happens due to the defects. Okay, that's another thing as well. So it's not only defects caused by an error on the human, okay. So it's not only humans that causes a system to fail. So there's that aspect which is really important, but there's other things that I have to think about as well. The environmental conditions. So let's say a computer is made to run a certain temperature. So if it's too low or too hot, that could cause a hardware failure. We call it environmental failure. Or maybe there's a leak on the aircon system, and it maybe drips on top of a computer or a server. These days it's more of a cloud-based, but can you imagine like in a server room, and you have aircon, and then you have a leak, and then it drips water in the main server of the mainframe, and that's not caused by an error. That was caused by environmental condition, which led to cause a hardware problem. Okay, all defects start with a human error. Not all defects. Well, all defects start with a human error, but not all failures start with human error. The tester job is just to expose the defect by causing a failure. So you deliberately go and try to cause failures on a system to expose the error. Okay, does that make sense? Before it goes to production. Again, this is the same thing, but it's just in a table, so you know the phases. So error and mistake is found by developers. They can overlap with testers as well if the testers get involved in the code. And the defect and bug fault can be it is testers that find in the intermediate level of the system when the system is in test. But developers as well, they can kind of come across this as well while they are coding. The failure, which is the end result of the error or the bug, and when the full system is up and running and released. Again, like I said, I'll repeat myself many times about the same thing, so in a different way, so it helps you imprint in your subconscious mind. So errors may occur for many reasons, such as time pressure, human fallibility, inexperienced or insufficient skilled project participants, miscommunication between project participants, including miscommunication about requirements and design, the complexity of the code, design, architecture, the underlying problem to be solved, and the technologies used, misunderstanding about intrasystem and intersystem interfaces, especially when such intersystem and intersystem interactions are large in numbers, and the new unfamiliar technologies. And this is a quote from the ISTQB Foundation level 2018. Okay, just bear that in mind because this is important part as well that falls into the exam.